The gilt-edged wedding invitation sat on my kitchen table like a beautifully wrapped insult. My sister Victoria's elegant script highlighted every detail of her perfect day, right down to the note specifying no handmade gifts. It had been 5 years since Dad disappeared, leaving only a letter saying he had to protect his legacy. Victoria had written him off as a failed businessman who abandoned us. I knew better. "Are you really going?" my best friend Amy asked, examining the invitation. After everything Victoria did. By everything, she meant Victoria stealing my college fund, claiming Dad had given it to her before he vanished. She meant Victoria spreading rumors that I was adopted because I looked nothing like our family's superior genes. She meant 5 years of social media posts mocking my poor life choices of becoming a kindergarten teacher instead of joining her in the corporate world. "I have to go," I said quietly, wrapping the gift I'd spent 6 months making. A hand-carved wooden jewelry box with a hidden compartment. "He's watching." Amy raised an eyebrow. "Your dad?" "Emma, he's been gone for 5 years. If only she knew. The careful instructions he'd left, the cryptic messages delivered through his old lawyer, the tasks he'd set for both his daughters while he worked in secret to protect everything he'd built." Victoria's wedding to James Wellington Aya was the social event of the season. Old money marrying new ambition. At least that's how the society pages painted it. What they didn't report was how James's company, Wellington Technologies, had been quietly buying up shares of Dad's old company through shell corporations. The wedding day arrived bright and perfect, just like Victoria. I walked into the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom, my simple blue dress a stark contrast to the designer gowns surrounding me. "Emma," Victoria's voice dripped fake sweetness. "You actually came. And, oh, you brought a gift." She held my carefully wrapped present like it might contaminate her designer wedding dress. "It's a jewelry box," I started to explain. "I carved it myself." "Of course you did," she cut me off. "Because you can't afford a real gift. Just like you can't afford a proper dress for my wedding." She dropped the box onto a nearby table, not even bothering to open it. "Victoria." I tried again. "You need to know something about Dad." "Don't," she snapped, her mask slipping. "Don't you dare mention that coward today. He abandoned us, Emma. Left us with nothing but debt and broken promises. Well, look at me now, marrying into real wealth, real power. What do you have? A teaching job and handmade crafts." That's when James appeared, his corporate smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Darling, it's time. The shareholders are waiting." "Shareholders?" I asked innocently, though I knew exactly what was happening. "Wellington Technologies is announcing a major acquisition today," Victoria preened. "James's company is finally taking over that worthless tech firm Dad lost. Poetic justice, don't you think?" As they walked away, my phone buzzed with a message from Dad's lawyer. "It's time. The real shareholders are here." I touched the simple pendant around my neck, the key to everything Dad had planned. Victoria had no idea that her perfect wedding day was about to turn into something very different. The ballroom's crystal chandeliers sparkled as James took the stage, Victoria beaming at his side. 300 of New York's elite waited expectantly for the big announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen," James began, "today isn't just a celebration of love. It's a celebration of business triumph. Wellington Technologies is proud to announce our acquisition of Chen Innovations." Polite applause rippled through the crowd. Victoria's smile grew even wider as James continued. "This acquisition represents the final chapter of the Chen family's legacy. A legacy of failure that ends today as we transform their outdated company into something worthy of the Wellington name." I felt my hand tighten around my champagne glass. If only they knew that Dad's outdated company had secretly developed quantum computing technology that made Wellington's systems look like pocket calculators. And now James raised his glass, a toast to my beautiful bride, who helped make this acquisition possible by providing inside information about her father's company. The crowd chuckled appreciatively. Victoria practically glowed with pride at publicly admitting her betrayal of Dad's trust. That's when the ballroom doors swung open. Mr. Patterson, Dad's elderly lawyer, walked in flanked by a team of serious-looking executives. In his hands was my wooden jewelry box, the wedding gift Victoria had discarded. "I apologize for interrupting," he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. But I believe there's been a mistake about who's acquiring whom. Victoria's smile froze. What are you talking about? The key, Miss Emma, Mr. Patterson said to me. It's time. With trembling fingers, I removed my necklace and approached the wooden box. The pendant fit perfectly into a hidden lock I'd carved into the bottom. Inside wasn't jewelry. Instead, there were documents, ownership certificates, patents, and most importantly, proof that Victoria had been selling company secrets to Wellington Technologies. What is this? James demanded, stepping down from the stage. Evidence, Mr. Patterson replied calmly, of corporate espionage, insider trading, and attempted theft of proprietary technology, all documented in Miss Emma's handmade gift, which neither of you bothered to examine carefully. Victoria laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. Emma's just a teacher. She doesn't know anything about business. Doesn't she? Mr. Patterson raised an eyebrow. Then perhaps you'd like to explain these? He began displaying documents on the ballroom's giant screens. Years of secret correspondence between Victoria and Wellington Technologies, planning the hostile takeover of Chen Innovations. But as Victoria's perfect day began crumbling around her, I noticed something strange in James's expression. He didn't look shocked by the revelations. He looked, pleased. Actually, he said smoothly, we were counting on this. He pulled out his phone and pressed a single button. Suddenly, every exit in the ballroom sealed shut with heavy security doors. Did you really think, he smiled coldly, that we wouldn't have a backup plan? That's when I realized this wasn't just about acquiring Dad's company. There was something much darker going on. You see, James continued, pulling Victoria possessively to his side. We knew your father was still alive. We knew he was watching. This wedding, the acquisition announcement, it was all bait to draw him out. Victoria's perfectly made-up face showed genuine shock. What? James, what are you talking about? Oh, darling, he patted her cheek condescendingly. Did you really think I married you for love? You were useful, feeding us information about your father's company. But the real prize was always the quantum computing technology. Mr. Patterson stepped forward. The technology you'll never get your hands on. James laughed. Won't I? Right now, my teams are raiding every Chin Innovations facility worldwide. The security codes Victoria so helpfully provided give us access to everything. Those codes expired years ago, I said quietly. What? The codes Victoria sold you. Dad changed them the day he disappeared. She's been feeding you useless information for 5 years. James's corporate smile finally cracked. Impossible. Our hackers confirmed. Confirmed what they were meant to find, came a new voice from the back of the ballroom. Really, James, did you think I wouldn't protect my daughters, even from themselves? The crowd parted like water to reveal a man I hadn't seen in 5 years. Dad looked older, grayer, but his eyes still held that familiar intelligent spark. Daddy? Victoria whispered. But James was already barking orders into his phone. Execute Protocol Omega. Wipe everything. Screens around the ballroom lit up showing Chen Innovations facilities worldwide. But instead of the chaos James expected, each location showed business as usual. Looking for your strike teams? Dad asked mildly. I'm afraid they're all having coffee with federal agents right now. Excellent coffee, actually, from the cafe where my youngest daughter worked part-time while secretly overseeing our global security protocols. I smiled, remembering all those early mornings making lats while monitoring the company's quantum encryption network through my ordinary laptop. James pulled out a gun. This isn't over. The quantum computing patents alone are worth billions. Victoria, tell them. Tell them where the backup servers are. But Victoria stood frozen, finally understanding how completely she'd been played. That's when the wooden jewelry box began to hum. The wooden jewelry box wasn't just a box. It was a quantum processor disguised as a wedding gift. As it hummed to life, holograms filled the ballroom, showing every secret meeting between James and his real employers. You weren't working for Wellington Technologies at all, I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. You work for the Chen family's oldest rivals, the Harrison Group. James's face contorted with rage. How did you? The coffee shop, Dad explained proudly. Emma didn't just serve coffee to your teams. She served it to your boss, Richard Harrison himself. Every morning, discussing his plans right in front of the simple barista he never really saw. Victoria sank into a nearby chair, her wedding dress pulling around her. All this time, you were just using me. Of course he was, I said gently, just like the Harrison Group used Dad's former partner 20 years ago. That's why Dad disappeared. To protect us from what happened to Uncle Robert's family. Uncle Robert? Victoria's voice trembled. You said he died in an accident. An accident arranged by the Harrison Group when he refused to steal Dad's research. I finished. That's why Dad left. Not because he failed, but because he was protecting us while he gathered evidence. James raised his gun higher. Enough. The servers don't exist. Dad interrupted. The quantum technology was never in servers. It's been hidden in plain sight, in handmade wooden boxes, children's toys, ordinary objects my talented daughter has been crafting for years. The holograms shifted to show my kindergarten classroom, where every handmade decoration concealed part of the quantum network. My students' art projects, my coffee shop's handmade signs, all pieces of the most advanced computing system ever built. You see, I explained, Dad taught me more than just woodworking. While Victoria was selling outdated secrets, I was building something revolutionary, something that could never be stolen because it exists everywhere and nowhere at once. Federal agents emerged from among the wedding guests. James looked frantically for escape routes, but found none. Victoria, he said desperately, tell them they're lying. You've seen the company files. The only files I saw, Victoria said slowly, were the ones you showed me. The ones you used to convince me to betray my family. She stood up, tears streaking her perfect makeup. I thought I was proving I was smarter than Emma, but I was just being a fool. As agents moved to arrest James, Dad approached Victoria. I'm sorry I had to disappear, but I needed to know which daughter would choose truth over power, love over money. The real company, I added softly, was never about technology. It was about Dad's legacy, teaching us that true value isn't in what you own, but in what you create and protect. 1 year later, Chen Innovations emerged from the shadows, revolutionizing quantum computing. Victoria serves as our charitable foundation's director, using her social skills to help others instead of harming them. James and the Harrison Group faced justice for decades of corporate terrorism. The wooden jewelry box sits in our company museum, next to a simple coffee cup and a kindergarten art project, reminders that sometimes the most powerful things come in the simplest packages. And every morning, I still make coffee for our employees. Now in our own building's cafe. Because as Dad always says, the best way to protect something valuable is to love it enough to serve it. Victoria and I are finally real sisters, our bond stronger for having been tested. She still attends society events, but now she proudly shows off my handmade gifts, each one possibly containing revolutionary technology or maybe just love. Nobody knows for sure, and that's exactly how we like it.